Hello and welcome, friends. In Unit 3 in Indian economy, up till now we have talked about the public sector, and we also talked about some of the examples of public sector enterprises in India. We had a look at the objectives that it serves as far as Indian economy is concerned, and we also talked about the problems faced by the public sector enterprises. You would recall that in the last session that we had started discussing the private sector, and we talked about some of the examples. We also talked about how it can be categorized into organized and unorganized, and domestic and foreign. Now, we have also discussed the role of private sector in India in the last session, and now is the time for us to understand what are the limitations of private sector as far as the Indian economy is concerned, and then we'll also discuss the challenges faced by private sector in India. So, one major limitation of private sector in India is the loan defaults. Many of private sector enterprises have defaulted on their loans that they have taken from the various banks or a consortium, a group of banks as well. For example, you know about the case of the Kingfisher Airlines. The Kingfisher Airlines was not able to pay its dues to the bank, and it actually defaulted. And you would also know that the owners are still absconding just to escape the court cases in India. They moved out of the country, so they are still absconding. Likewise, the same thing happened with Rotomac, and there are so many other companies with which this keeps on happening. Sometimes these loan defaults are basically because of the situations in the market, because of the market forces. For example, so many companies, so many private sector companies, specifically the smaller ones, they have been found to default in the last 1 year or so after the corona pandemic hit. But this was something that they could not have helped. This happened because of the circumstances. But many a times, loan defaults are also because of some deliberate effort by the company which has taken the loan, by the borrower, because they do not intend to pay back the loans. So many a times this has also happened, and we have seen that many a times these companies which borrow money from the banks or a consortium or a group of banks, many a times they also try to bribe the bank officials just to get the loan sanctioned without any intent of paying the loan back. You know about the cases of Mr. Nirav Modi and other such people who have left the country after defaulting on their repayments. So this is one major issue with the private sector's enterprises in India. Then many of the private sector enterprises, they emphasize more on low priority industries which are not the priority for the economy, and they generally do not invest in high priority sectors. For example, you won't find too many companies investing in construction of roads or construction of bridges, or maybe in the oil exploration and oil retailing. But you would find that there are so many private sector enterprises which are basically bringing out products like televisions, consumer durables like televisions and washing machines. And we have got so many enterprises which are bringing out FMCG products, perfumes and cosmetics. Why? Because these are those sectors which do not have a long gestational period. I hope you remember what we have discussed with respect to gestational period in the earlier lectures. So since these industries do not have a long gestational period, the private sector companies, they expect to get a speedier return on their investment, which does not happen with high priority industries, which are generally also those industries where the gestation period is very, very high. For example, if you talk about a power plant, thermal power plant which runs on coal, it takes a lot of time to build such a power plant and then to start operating and to start earning some revenue by selling the electricity. So the gestation period is relatively longer, and that is why most of the private sector enterprises do not invest in such high priority sectors. So this is another issue with the private sector enterprises in India, not only in India but across the world, in different parts of the world also. Then many of these enterprises, in a bid to sell their products, they engender consumerism. They they get the people to buy their product even if these people do not have any requirement for that product. For example, we have seen how companies like GSK, or like there are different companies, HUL, they bring their products like Bonvita and Complan into the market, and they try to convince the customer that these products are must for the betterment of their child, for the physical well-being of their child, though it is found that these products do not contain the nutrients that they claim to be containing. So this is one major issue with these private sector firms in India. What is basically consumerism? Making the customer feel the need for those products which are not basic to his existence. For example, what is basic to my existence? Food is basic, clothing is basic to my existence, but having a deodorant is not basic to my existence, having a car is not basic to my existence. But still these companies, because they have to sell their cars, they have to sell their deodorants, they make me feel that if I do not have these products, I would not be able to realize my potential, or I would not have the status that I want in the market. And that is why we start using deodorants, for example, because we feel that if we do not use deodorants, what will happen? People won't like us, our friends won't like us, they would abhor us. And then we start using, and then we start feeling that they are our necessities. Why the companies are doing this? The companies are doing this so that they can sell their deodorants, they can sell their products. So this is one major issue with private sector enterprises as far as Indian economy is concerned. Secondly, they also prioritize profit maximization. They are less concerned about serving the society, for example. They are more concerned about maximizing the profit. For example, there have been cases where, for example, HUL, which had a thermometer manufacturing unit in Tamil Nadu, and they were selling those thermometers after producing them into that particular unit. But the mercury that they used, they dumped it in the vicinity of the plant that they had there in Tamil Nadu, because of which there was a pollution, there was water pollution, and there were so many diseases which inflicted the people living in the surrounding of the unit owned by HUL. And why did this happen? Because the motive of HUL was to maximize profit and not to serve the society as such. So their motive is to maximize profit. Many a times you have seen entertainment channels, television channels, for example, there are so many news channels which, in an effort to make the news more interesting, they provide false data, they falsify facts just to make the news item very, very interesting, so that more and more people watch the program. So they do this because they have to maximize the profit. Their priority is to maximize the profit. They are generally less bothered about the well-being of the society, about the well-being of the people. You have taken example of Twitter also. You talk about how Twitter, or for that matter Facebook or WhatsApp, they are being used by so many people to spread rumors, but they are not, these companies are not really concerned about these aspects, because for them, what is the most important aspect? They want to maximize their profit. They want to add up more and more customers. They are less concerned about the fake news being circulated on their sites or on their platforms. So this is another issue as far as private sector is concerned. Then many a times in private sector, the exploitation is rampant. If you go to a small dhaba owner, you would find that he would probably even employ a child labor, which is generally not allowed in India, which is disallowed in India. You cannot hire somebody below 14 years of age, but he would be using a child labor because you don't have to pay children much. So many times exploitation of workers is rampant in these kind of private sector enterprises. Many times hire and fire is the policy which is in use in private sector enterprises, which means they hire, they recruit people according to the requirement, and when they don't require, they would simply ask the employee to quit. They would simply terminate his services. So these kind of hire and fire policies are in use in private sector in India, which is not good for the workers, for the employees working there. This is not the case with public sector enterprises. Generally, public sector enterprises, as far as India is concerned, hire and fire is not used as a policy. Here, the employment is for the lifetime. So if I get into Degree College Pithoragarh or the education department of the government of Uttarakhand, the tenure that I will be having here would be till the time I retire, even if I don't perform well. So hire and fire would not be seen in public sector enterprises, but the downside is then the people stop performing because they are not fired because of underperformance, so they stop performing. So there are pros and cons of this particular policy of hire and fire, right? So you should be able to compare what is good in private sector with what is good in public sector based on the session that we are having today and the sessions that we have had earlier, right? Then industrial disputes are also very, very common in private sector enterprises in India, specifically in the manufacturing sector. For example, around a few years ago, there was an industrial dispute in Maruti Suzuki plant in Manesar, and an HR employee, an HR manager was burnt alive by the protesting employees, by the protesting workforce. So those who work at the shop floor, the mechanics and the other people who work at the shop floor, the workers, the blue collar workers, some of them who were agitating against the company management, in a fit of anger, they burnt alive the HR manager of the company. So these kind of industrial disputes are rampant in many of the private sector enterprises, specifically in the manufacturing sector. So you would find that there are hartals, there are strikes, very, very common in private sector enterprises in India. And they also indulge into corrupt practices. For example, Satyam is known for the corrupt practices that it indulged in, and because of which the company faced a lot of issues, and the people who had bought the Satyam shares, the value of the shares reduced because of the corrupt practices of Satyam when they came to light, and because of this, these share owners, they had to lose a lot of their money in the share market. So these corrupt practices are also many a times prevalent in private sector enterprises in India. For example, many a times some of them bribe the government departments just to sell their product, and this is very, very common when they are selling to some government departments. They would bribe the people in the purchase committee just to be able to sell their products to that particular government department or to that particular government organization. So these kind of corrupt practices are also very, very common, very, very prevalent, and this is another issue with private sector here in India. And lastly, of course, many a times they, in a bid to make their profit, like we said, their aim is to maximize profit, they also degrade the environment. For example, many Uttarakhand hotels you would find, you know that the Char Dham Yatra passes through Uttarakhand, and we have got the Kedarnath, Gangotri, Yamunotri and the Badrinath. These are the Char Dhams, and there are so many hotels which have come up on the river banks. And what do? Their sewer lines are basically emptied into the river. So this is what they are doing, and this way they are reducing their operational costs, but ultimately they are degrading the environment. Fine. And you see so many examples of environmental degradation caused by private sector enterprises in India. Very recently, what happened in Dehradun, in a place called Kalsi in Dehradun in Uttarakhand, Coca-Cola was planning to come up with a plant, but that particular news was not greeted with enthusiasm by the local people, and in fact they opposed it tooth and nail. The reason was that if the Coca-Cola bottling plant came up there, it would have drawn a lot of water. The groundwater table would have gone down, and it would have become difficult for the people to get water, underground water for their use. It would have been difficult for them to get this water for cultivation, for irrigating their fields, and that was why there was a lot of opposition. And ultimately the plant was then, the idea to put up the plant in that particular place in Kalsi was then withdrawn. So these kind of issues are common as far as private sector enterprises are concerned. Now, what are the problems that the private sectors face as far as India is concerned? Regulatory delays. What do you mean by regulatory delays? When you are setting up a private sector enterprise, you have to apply for licenses. You have to get the permission from the government. So that is known as a permit. For example, even if you are setting up a dhaba or a restaurant or a roadside eatery, you need to have an authorization from FSSAI, Food Standards and Security Authority of India. So these regulatory issues have to be dealt with, but many a times there are so many delays as far as the grant of licensing is concerned, grant of permits is concerned to the private sector enterprises. For example, it has been seen that if you want to register the property, if a private sector enterprise wants to come up in a particular place and they want to get a registry of property in their name, if they want to get the property registered in their name, it takes up to 58 days. If you want to resolve some commercial disputes, many a times the disputes would go unresolved for years on end, and the average time duration is almost 5 days. This is almost more than 4 years. So the dispute would drag on for 4 years, and this would cost the company, the private sector enterprise, a lot. So these are some of the problems that the private sector enterprises in India face. If you compare it with what is happening in Hong Kong or Singapore or other countries, you would find that there within 2 days you can start your business. But here you would require at least 58 days, because when you get your property registered, that particular process would also take 58 days. You cannot start your business before 2 months. So you plan today and then you can start your business only 2 months down the line. And if you compare it with other countries, you would find that there it is possible for you to start a business within 2 days. So this is the kind of regulatory delay that the Indian private sector enterprises have to face. Then there are so many rules and regulations that they have to follow, that they have to abide by, and they have to also keep a record of that. There are at least 50 central and 200 state labor laws. Basically, labor laws are basically there to ensure the welfare of the workers, but there are so many laws, it becomes very, very difficult for the private sector enterprise, their management, to comply with these laws. You have to comply with 200 state labor laws or maybe 50 central laws. So you have to have 50 different registers wherein you are keeping and maintaining the record, the compliance record, and then there would be some license, there would be some inspector would come and inspect those records. So it was such a big issue for private sector enterprises, and this is the reason why government is planning to reduce these 50 central labor laws into only 4 labor codes. So they are saying we'll reduce the number, and from around 50 labor laws we'll reduce the number to 4 labor codes only. Only 4 labor laws would exist, but this particular process needs the assent, needs the consent of the parliament, and that is yet to happen. Again, there is unstable regulatory environment. The regulatory environment keeps coming up with different rules and regulations. For example, in India, Bharat Stage 6, I hope you know about the emission norms. These are basically emission norms. Bharat Stage 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. As we move from 1 to 6, you would find that the emissions reduce. So there are these Bharat Stage 6 emission norms for the vehicles. Now, initially, they were expected to be implemented by 2026, but now this implementation was brought forward by 3-4 years. And this decision was taken in a very rapid fashion and communicated to the automobile assembly firms which assemble automobiles, for example, Maruti. Now, naturally, Maruti would require a lot more time to adjust its production processes according to these emission norms. I hope you understand. Emission means what exhaust gases come out of your vehicle when it is running. So this is what we mean by emission. So this happens in India. For example, you would know that the regulatory bodies in India, for example, they keep coming up with different rules and regulations for the various companies. Very recently, the regulatory bodies reduced the price that the companies can charge for the drugs that they make, the medicines that they sell in the market, or the stents. Stents are used when an artery in the heart is clogged. So these companies which manufacture stents, they were asked to reduce the price, which we know as price capping. The price were capped the company could have not charged more than that price. So these kind of things keep happening in India, and because of which the private sector enterprises find it difficult to adjust according to the new rules and regulations which are introduced by the regulatory bodies. I hope you know what regulatory bodies are. For example, in case of banks, it is the RBI. In case of telecommunication services, it is the TRAI, Telecom Regulatory Authority of India. Right? So these are the regulatory bodies. Then there are disputes with tax authorities. Many times there are disputes with the tax authorities, with the government. Government says, no, you should be paying us this much tax. And these companies say, no, your understanding of the tax is wrong. We should not be paying this much tax. Right? So this has happened with companies like Vodafone India and Airtel in the recent past. And the government demanded a higher tax than these companies had already paid. And the logic forwarded by the government was that the calculation made by these companies while paying the tax was wrong, and they should have paid much higher taxes. So this is what we know as the adjusted gross revenue issue. Right? So these kind of disputes keep taking place. For example, this was one dispute. This kind of a dispute forced companies to move out of India. They have forced the private sector enterprises to close down their plants here in India. Now, many a times another issue that happens with the private sector is that they find it difficult to access credit, and this happens with the unorganized sector. For example, a redi wala, a mobile trader, these people find it very, very difficult to access credit from the market. The banks are not ready to loan them, to provide them finances, and if they do not have finances, how can they invest in their business and how can they run their business? But this is one major problem as far as Indian economy is concerned, and the government is trying to come up with various policies to ensure that this problem is taken care of. For example, you know about the Stand Up India and Stand Up India and Startup India, wherein the loan facilities are being provided to the private sector enterprises. Likewise, there have been initiatives wherein the loan application would be cleared within 59 minutes that is within 1 hour by the public sector banks. And then there are infrastructural bottlenecks and consequent high cost of operations. What do you mean by this? Infrastructural bottlenecks, for example, many a times the railway network is not working. Nowadays, so many landslides have taken place in Uttarakhand hills. So naturally it becomes difficult for a company to sell its product in Uttarakhand, specifically in the hilly areas. Why? Because the road network is not good and it does not function during the rain season. So these are what we mean by infrastructural bottlenecks. Many a times the railways network and the freight trains which carry these kind of items, they get delayed by days, which means if they have to reach in one day, they might reach in on the third day or on the fourth day. So these kind of infrastructural bottlenecks, they increase the cost of operation for private sector here in India, and this is another problem for private sector. And then we do not have sufficiently skilled workforce. It does not mean that people do not have degrees. People have BBA degrees, people have MBA degrees, people are engineered, they have engineering degrees, but many of times they do not have the skills to be of any use to these private sector employers. For example, it has been found that 77% degree holders in India are unemployable, which means they might be BTechs or they might be BBAs or MBAs, but they do not have these skills. So where from these private sector enterprises will get their workforce? Where are they going to recruit their workforce from? Because only 23% of the people of the MBAs or of the BBAs or the engineers, they are good enough to be employed. So this is another major problem as far as private sector in India is concerned. Fine. With this, we need to understand one more thing, that competition is also a big issue for private sector. The public sector enterprises don't have to face this issue. Why? Because they are provided financing by the government. They are provided assistance by the government. You can take example of Uttarakhand Road Transport Corporation. It might be incurring losses, but it would be provided assistance by the state government. Air India incurring losses but provided assistance. But this is not the case with private sector. They cannot bank on the government to provide them such assistance. So if there is a lot of competition and they lose out their market share, that becomes another big problem for private sector in India. So thank you very much for your time. With this, we end this session, and we'll move on to the next topic in the coming session. Thank you very much.